And Amy, and picking up on that cry room matter,
Yeah.
Amy, at the collegiate level. Something else at the collegiate level is
collegiate level. I mean, that is sick.
the cry room?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, man up or woman up, and just when you feel like crying, go cry somewhere. You don't need a cry room.
We don't.
Drawing an attention shelf. You know what that is? It's a cry for help.
We don't.
Because if somebody sees you walk in there, they'll think maybe I can help out.
The days of us raising boys to be men with chests are over. I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm sending my kids to St. John's Northwestern Military Academy summer camp.
There you go.
And they get to wear, oh, I'm so happy. I can't wait. I hope they get pushed around. Not pushed around, but I mean, just fall in line. Get
Toughened up.
Yelled up. Toughened up. That's what I meant to say, Dan.
Yeah.
Make them men. Get them off their computers.
Sure.
Get them off their cell phones and get out into nature.
They can't go to the Scouts anymore.
No.
Because there is no more Boy Scouts. Also, maybe Peyton and Eli will run the gauntlet and be in the select group of male college graduates. I know we don't play identity politics, but since the other side does, it'd be fun to hear their explanation for this and what should be done where the number's reversed. But our friend over at Carpe Diem, Mark Perry, economics professor at University of Michigan, has been tracking this for a while, points out that the class of 2018, college graduates, associate degrees, 6139 women, bachelor's degrees, 5743 women, master's degrees, 5941 women, doctoral degrees, 5347 women, all degrees, 5941, basically. So 60-40 female versus male. If those numbers were reversed, this would be like a national crisis, wouldn't it? What are we going to do about elevating women in higher education? But 3-2, female to male, and there's no problem. So is gender distribution an issue when it comes to higher education or education generally, or should it be performance based? I mean, I don't like. Let's just say law school. Despite what Sandra Day O'Connor said in the Michigan law school case, I don't care if my entire graduating class at Northwestern was 100% black women, 100% Inuit Eskimos. It should be based on performance, right?
Right.
But that's not what we do everywhere else, except if it's a protected group or a group aspiring for protected status that is the one underperforming. Thus, even despite these numbers, what's the real push when it comes to anything viewed through the gender prism in education? STEM for girls, right? Because girls' scores when it comes to math
and science,
and by extension, engineering are lower than boys. It's just interesting to note. For more interesting things to know, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend David Harsanyi, who is nationally syndicated columnist, and he also is a senior editor at The Federalist, thefederalist.com, author of First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun, From the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, switching gears from our little foray into higher ed there, President Trump and Rudy Giuliani reunited from the campaign, and it feels so good this week.
I don't know if it feels good. It feels weird and sort of, how would I say this, unplanned, a little bit of anarchy going on, it seems to me. But, we'll see how it turns out.
Well, here's the thing. Let's hear what Alan Dershowitz had to say on MSNBC yesterday before we get to kind of Trump and some of these self-inflicted wounds in Trump world. What about some of the issues of the left when it comes to embracing the police power of the state? Dershowitz made this point.
If men were angels, as Madison wrote, we wouldn't need a constitution. We need a constitution because we as Americans don't trust authority. And we as liberal Democrats used to not trust law enforcement. Now it's the conservative Republicans that don't trust law enforcement and the liberal Democrats that are all saying, we trust law enforcement completely. The statutes are in place. The rules are in place. These rules are only as good as the people who enforce them, and only as good as the motives of the people who are behind them. And I have to tell you, I do not trust the government. I do not trust judges. I do not trust prosecutors when they are zealously seeking to go after a particular target, in this case, Donald Trump.
Does the professor have a point, David?
Of course he has a point. I mean, I'm no Donald Trump fan, but it's clear to me that there's abuse of power going on here. I mean, the other day I wrote about the FBI and the Justice Department, which simply refuses to hand over documents that are being asked for in an investigation by Congress, which has the authority of oversight. When it comes to the FBI, and they simply refuse to do it. They refuse to do it because it makes the FBI look bad, and that's a political consideration. It is not, for months we were hearing for a year and a half we've been hearing about how we need transparency. For a year and a half we've been, being hit with partisan leaks over and over again that don't give the full picture of what's been going on. And now all of a sudden, Democrats are worried about the sanctity of criminal investigation. They don't want any information. Congress has the power to do that, and all of a sudden we treat the FBI and Bob Mueller and all these people as if they're independent and should have no oversight. That's not how it works. So,
well, and just one of the interesting things to add to that, I mean, sort of a remarkable op-ed in The Hill, considering the source. Mark Penn, a Hillary Clinton former campaign strategist, saying Rod Rosenstein's not above the law. Sessions should call Rosenstein in and demand that he comply fully with the subpoenas or fire him and replace him with someone who will fairly oversee the Russia investigation and who will comply with the lawful orders of Congress. That's Mark Penn echoing Rudy Giuliani and you.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, the idea that we should not see. First of all, he has never explained why these redacted documents need to be redacted. I mean, if there's a legitimate reason in an ongoing criminal investigation that you don't want to, whatever the reason is, you have a right not to hand over everything to Congress. I mean, you're talking about co-equal branches of government, but here you're talking, everyone. Democrats act as if the president would be completely out of line, would be Hitler if he fired, the deputy attorney general. He's a subordinate. He works for the president. That's how the Constitution doesn't simply change because we don't like Donald Trump. And it's getting to the point where you're having sort of a coup. I'm not saying it's a military coup, but you have law enforcement simply ignoring their superiors, and that's, I think, a problem because it creates precedents that would be a huge problem.
All right. What about this latest incident that keeps percolating? Rudy Giuliani on with Sean Hannity. Whether President Trump knew where the money was going and for what. Do you think he violated campaign finance laws? Because the payment seems to me that it was motivated by the 2016 election because she was paid off 16 days before the election.
Well, I'm of two minds. I do think Donald Trump knew the basics of this, and I'd be surprised if this is the only one, frankly. On the other hand, I just can't believe there are laws in this country that sort of where the government has to bore into your soul and know what your intent was and why you're paying someone money or not paying someone money. I mean, I just don't know if this sort of case holds up. And let's say he did it. It's $130,000. Is that an impeachable offense now? I don't know. So I don't know enough about campaign finance law because I think, it's sort of arbitrary anyway. To know how big a deal this is or isn't, but it seems implausible to me that Donald Trump wouldn't have known what was going on, considering how close he was with the lawyer.
And sometimes, I mean, I'm not a ends justify the means guy, but there is this sort of, I don't know, aura around Trump that he seems to be able to cut through and get results on a number of fronts simultaneously amid personal and professional chaos. Now that's political chaos too, but the developments both with North and South Korea, and I don't want to overstate them. I understand we should be skeptical of the North Koreans, but it's still a development. And then with the Iranian nuclear deal, given what Bibi Netanyahu unveiled this week, I mean, these are remarkable developments on two important and, up until this point, seemingly intractable fronts.
It's like we're living in parallel worlds where there's the the home front where, Donald Trump's presidency seems to be anarchy. And then in another way, it seems to be pretty productive and things seem to be going rather well. I mean, not well, but, productive. So meaning the world is not automatically a better place simply because we start talking to North Korea or because we have to undo the Iran deal, though I think we're headed in the right direction. The thing with the anarchy of the Trump administration is, of course, some of it, or maybe most of it, is brought on by their own actions. But the other part of that is that the news media, or most mainstream media, they get hysterical about every little thing that goes on and have a heart attack over every little thing that happens and blow up stories that are ridiculous. So it seems more crazy than maybe it is, at least to people. And I think what happens is they tune out, and even when serious things pop up, they don't pay the sort of attention they should. But certainly I think if the North Korean thing had happened under the Obama administration, we'd be having a very different discussion about it right now.
Maybe
what would that discussion be?
Well, maybe maybe
how wonderful Saint Obama is.
Yeah, right. And maybe CNN would give Trump a little bit more breathing room if he could just find MH370.
That would help.
I think Don Lemon would have to. Is it still too soon to make an MH370? Okay.
Just don't know where it went.
Well, I understand it could have been swallowed up by a black hole, according to Don Lemon, and the Earth could have collapsed in upon itself. I get it. These are very serious people that we're supposed to take very seriously on the news channels. I get that. Just going back, David, to Rosenstein and Mueller, the report out yesterday that Mueller is now fixated on Roger Stone and his relationship with Rick Gates, who was Paul Manafort's business partner. And do you get the sense that Mueller is keeping up appearances with respect to Russian collusion while he's actually just pursuing the obstruction of justice charge, or that there are still some unanswered questions that could be interesting based on the questions that were leaked earlier in the week and then this latest report on who Mueller is focusing upon?
Well, I don't know about the second half of that, but the first part of the questions that Mueller asked, if they are indeed the questions, it tells us that he's pursuing obstruction of justice charges, because I think there's really just one question related to so-called collusion in there, which I still don't exactly understand. And if Roger Stone, who's completely nuts, basically, is the person we're going to hinge that everything hinges on now. Don't get me wrong; it's wrong of Donald Trump to bring in that sort of person to start with. Roger Stone makes up a lot. Roger Stone is a weird guy. He says a lot of things that probably aren't exactly true. So I don't know. I mean, is that really the path we're going down? Because to me, that means that there's really not much there.
He is, David.
But who knows? I mean, we never know, right?
Right. That's true. There's no question about that. You never know what's coming next. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode. David Harsanyi, nationally syndicated columnist, senior editor for TheFederalist.com, author of the book First Freedom: A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun from the Revolution to Today. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.